Hello, it's Michelle again, and this time instead of an unboxing, I have a review for you. And there's two reasons I'm doing this. One is because I've only seen one review of this online, and I just decided it needed another one. And two, I'm using part of the box as the stand for this camera. So it would be kind of hard to do an unboxing when part of the box is attached to the camera. So this is called the PokeFami DX. I don't know why it's Pokey. I mean, I guess it's Pocket, but it's not Pocket. Anyway, the point is, it's a portable Super Nintendo, and I think you've all probably seen the SupaBoy, which is made by Hyperkin, and I heard a lot of really good reviews about it, and I set out to buy one. And when I got to the store in Akihabara, the SupaBoy was around $80, and this was around $60. And immediately my head went, okay, whoa. I hadn't really seen much about the PokeFami DX, and so I immediately decided, let's hit the internet and see, what it's like. And the only review that I saw was from about the same time as the SupaBoy, and it said that it blew the SupaBoy away. And I thought, okay, well that's interesting. I couldn't find any other information about it, and I think part of the reason is this appears to only be sold in Japan. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I could find. This is the black edition. There is a white edition, I think it is. It's like white and blue, maybe? Anyway, so let's get to it. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the differences between this and the SupaBoy. The very first difference is, where do I start? Gosh, the size. I think the size is the big deal. The SupaBoy, from what I've seen, is bulky, and part of the reason it's bulky is because down here it has two Super Nintendo controller ports. Now this just makes it bigger by default. This one is not. You can relatively easily hold this in your hand. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it is not terrible. And one thing that I really do like about it is that I'm going to set that back down now, is that the start and select buttons are down here, whereas on the SupaBoy they're way up here, which makes no sense. And they're also switched back, like the start on the left and the select on the right, for some reason. I guess to make it easier to hit start. And that just seems very, very odd. So, that's one thing. In the terms of features, we're looking at basically the same features. We've got an AV cable to plug it up to a TV if you want. We've got this adapter here, so you've got your controller inputs. But that's the nice thing. This plugs into the system on the side under here and allows you to plug in your Super Nintendo controllers. The original, the SupaBoy system has the controller ports built in, which automatically makes the system more bulky. This gives you the option of removing that bulk when you don't need it, which I think is a good idea. Now, what are some of the other differences? Well, I've heard that the SupaBoy sometimes has problems with Yoshi's Island and Super Mario RPG, and I really couldn't find a clear answer to that. But I figured, hey, let's try them. But first, before we do that, let's throw in some simple stuff, just to give you an idea. So here is a Goemon game for the Super Nintendo. I'm going to plug that in there. It's a little bit tight. There we are. And I'll switch it on. Now, one nice thing that this thing has that the SupaBoy doesn't, is apparently games that work. Is that it comes with a plastic stand that you can put on the back and make it stand up. Let me blow in this cart. I've heard complaints that the games on the SupaBoy can be hard to get out. They can also be hard to get out on this. Sometimes, but not always. The American carts are harder to remove than the Japanese ones. Okay, there we go. So there's our Konami logo. And that's the full loudness, which is not as loud as I'd like it. You can plug your headphones into the AV out jack, but because it's a 3-pronged jack, you end up with this massive amount of video signal blowing into your headphones, and it makes this really bad buzz. So the only option for headphones on this would be to plug this cable in and then get an adapter to plug into these two, so that you can put them from the headphones. You can essentially pull sound directly off the left and right channels of the AV, which is frustrating because when you're in Japan, you're on a train. If you're going to be playing something like this, you're on a train, and nobody likes noise on the train. So that's kind of a downside, especially if this is marketed for Japan. I don't know if the SupaBoy has a dedicated headphone jack. I don't remember seeing one in the reviews, so I'm not sure. But as you can see, this is playing just fine. Screen looks good. Right now it's charging. That's the other reason why I'm recording this as a review instead of an unboxing. I decided to give it a good charge. It does have multiple brightness settings. This is the highest, and then you can turn it down and then off, which is nice because the SupaBoy can't turn off. So when you plug it up to your TV, your screen is on the whole time. With this one, you can turn it off, which is, again, an improvement. So let's switch some games out here. And our next game, we'll put in American game, Castlevania 4. Now, you hear that click? That's the little flaps on the top clicking into place there. On the American games, it does that. Kind of feels slightly unnerving, but whatever. It's fine. So here comes our Konami logo again, I hope. There we go. Konami games sometimes take a second to load up. I don't know. But as you can see, sounds fine. Again, wish it was louder. But so far, compared to the SupaBoy, from what I've seen, and I haven't actually held a SupaBoy and tried it myself, but from what I've seen, this looks mostly superior. But then, let's get to the really important parts. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a reproduction cart. Now this is a reproduction cart of the Sailor Moon Another Story RPG. The actual cart was the English version, but I have bought the Japanese version and switched the boards out. So, because, you know, I wanted it to look good. So this looks like the Japanese version, but it's actually in English. And as you can see, that comes up just perfect. And I actually played this some on the train on the way home. It was kind of nice. Yes, I brought a Super Nintendo game with me so that I would have something to play when I bought this. On some games, there's a little bit of distortion in the speakers. I've heard the same problem on the SupaBoy. I've also heard that later revisions fixed that. I don't know. Let's go on to something else. So, here is Yoshi's Island. Again, this is trouble for some people. The logo comes up. A lot of people get stuck after the opening. Oops, and I just hit the camera. Sorry about that. I wish I could edit that out. Anyway, this is coming up. I don't know if it's supposed to be different here, if it changes after you've beaten the game or something. But this looks fine to me. Let's go back to World 1. So here we are, World 1-1. And you know, looks fine. So no problems there. And now we'll go on to the... Ooh, that's a little bit tight. Okay. To the other troublemaker in the group, Super Mario RPG. I'm not sure what this one is supposed to do. Maybe just not supposed to load at all or something. But as you can see here, it's loading up just fine. No problems. Right into the game. This is, of course, the Japanese version. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. But no problems. So let's show some other nifty little features. Now, I don't know if the SupaBoy is capable of doing this next thing. It may be. But I do know that this is compatible with it because it actually says on the box that you can do this. Over here is AD adapter for Game Boy Advance, FC adapter for Famicom games, and MD adapter for Mega Drive games. I just so happen to have both the AD adapter for Game Boy Advance games and the MD adapter for Mega Drive games. So I can show you these. Now, this one, the sound doesn't work. And the reason the sound doesn't work is because I cut a thin metal trace inside this board to make the sound better on my original Super Nintendo, because I didn't really plan to use this with any other clone systems. And if I wanted to, I could easily just solder that trace back and then the sound would work on here. But here's the thing. Why would I do that when the Game Boy Advance screen is the same size? I mean, really, what's the point? It's almost the exact same size. So, I just figured, hey, I'll leave this as it is. But you can see that it does work. And if I didn't have that trace cut, you would have sound too. Now there is a little bit of blurriness. You maybe can't see it on this video, but there is a little bit of blurriness on the Game Boy Advance games. I'm not sure why with the adapter, but it works. Now, again, this is a bulky, weird thing to be doing for Game Boy Advance. It would be just as easy and cheaper to get an actual Game Boy Advance. But the other one is the Mega Drive adapter. So here is our Castlevania Bloodlines, and this is the US Castlevania Bloodlines, with the Mega Drive adapter, and we'll give you a peek of that. And as you can see, that loads up just fine. Now, because these two systems are made by the same company, this system is designed perfectly to work with this adapter. And so what you get is the sound coming directly through the system and the video, no unnecessary cables or anything like that. Normally there's an output cable on the side if you're going to use this on an actual Super Nintendo system. It doesn't use the Super Nintendo's AV outs, and the reason is because you have to do some soldering and modifications, blah 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 blah. But the clone systems are sometimes designed for this, and this one is definitely designed for it because it's made by the same company, and they actually advertise it on the box. I do not have the Famicom adapter. I wish I did, but I couldn't find it. Last thing I'm going to show you is the Super Game Boy. Now, this comes back to the same question as the Game Boy Advance. Why bother? It may be useful if you just really want to play a game with the special border. But what I noticed is that, and I haven't tried it on this game, but I noticed that there's some sound distortion. I don't know if it's just too loud or what. Yeah, you can hear that. It's really distorting the sound. Maybe it's not that way on headphones or plugged it to a TV. I don't know. But it's definitely a problem. So unless you just really, really, really want the border, this is not the way to go. But that said, hey. All in all, I think this is actually a pretty great product for the price. It's roughly the same price as a Super Nintendo system will run you in America. Not in Japan, because Super Nintendo systems are dirt cheap here. But it seems to have all the options of the SupaBoy with improvements. Now again, I haven't tried the SupaBoy, but from what I've seen, this looks to be the better option. So, if you're looking for a handheld Super Nintendo, which I don't know if you are or not, you probably aren't. But if you are, I think this is a good way to go, and it's definitely cheaper than the alternative. And honestly, right now, Hyperkin's track record is not looking quite as good as it used to. This company, however, I like. I really like their Mega Drive adapter. I really like what it looks like on the Super Nintendo. Also really like their AD adapter. If you can find one of these or the American equivalent of it, this thing is phenomenal. It gives great video output, even through composite. The sound is not perfect. You do have to very, 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 very barely modify it. By which I mean I literally just opened it up, took a screwdriver and scratched a little metal trace off. But once I did that, it sounds just as good as the actual Super Nintendo. The actual Game Boy Advance. It's not in stereo, but this thing is only 30 bucks. And it looks great even on a big screen TV. And who knows what it's going to look like with that Frame Meister that I just bought. Might even look even better. So, this is a good way to go, and it is compatible with clone systems. In fact, with other clone systems, you can get the sound output directly from the system itself, and maybe get an even better quality. So, anyway, I think this is a good way to go, and this company is called GameJoy Japan. So if you want to check them out, check them out. See you later.